I feel like I'm so far behind. I went on a trip last weekend, 17th, 18th, and I feel like I haven't recovered. I played some games in the interim. I played some games on Sunday. I took off Friday and came back Saturday for a business trip ish. Had a Christmas party that they flew us all up to. But yeah, it was like 12 hours to get home on Saturday. And like I said, I hadn't recovered. And I did play some games. Sunday I had two, Tuesday I had two, and Thursday I ran a game. And Wednesday we had a game, but it got canceled. But I did some gaming stuff. So before things get too crazy this weekend, I got to put some thoughts down before I forget everything. That's what happens to me. Anyway, it is Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas, everyone. And yeah, let's get into it.
Carl Rodriguez is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
So don't worry, this is not going to be a mega extravaganza recap of all 5 games, 6 things that I did this week, but I think I'm going to break it up. So here in this one, we'll have the game that I ran and then played on Sunday, and then we'll have call-ins from the previous episode, Tales from the Nazarene, responses to call-ins from that, mainly on the recap of the Barbarians of Lemuria. And then after that, we will have an unboxing and call it a day. And then hopefully I'll be inspired to continue and get to my Tuesday games because it's kind of important, I think, for posterity to get that going. So yeah, let's do call-ins first.
Yo, Carl. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's completely fair to say there was a 10 out of 10 chance your character was going to stab his own hand in that Barbarians of Lemuria session, man. Like, Jason laid out what would happen if you tried it. You went for it anyway. The attack roll failed. The acrobatics check failed. And so, yeah, you stabbed your hand, man. No big deal. Took a little damage. It's all right. Yeah, it made sense. Like, think about trying to stab your opposite hand with a big ass spear. You know, it was different from the stories you were telling about your military buddies flicking bugs off their legs with a knife or a sharp stick. You weren't using a knife or a sharp stick. You were using a huge spear trying to stab a tiny spider, dude. I don't know. It made perfect sense to me. Anyway, man, I hope it didn't ruin your game or anything. It was just a couple points of damage. What's the big deal? I hope you had fun. Peace out.
That was Joe Richter from Hindsightless podcast and the former co-runner of the Wheel or Woe Pathfinder 2 podcast and YouTube actual play. I guess maybe that's what's weird is everyone saw the logic of what the GM's decision was, and I did not. Again, I refer to, in college, me and a friend perfected the bishop do the thing with the knife scene, and yeah, I didn't really stab my hand. I mean, it probably wasn't as fast as Bishop was from Aliens, but anyway, I guess people see things different logically, and like you said, it happened. It took a little bit of damage. No big deal. The game was really fun. Jason has some more to say on it. Jason Connerly of Nerds RPG Variety Cast up next.
Hey, Carl, Jason here. Enjoyed the latest episode. I will say for Barbarians Lemuria, at the end when the guy escaped from you guys, I probably should explain that better. Villains have a thing called villain points, and one of the things you can do with them is timely escape. The villains can affect an escape from the heroes if things are going badly for them. For example, whilst attention is elsewhere, the villain slips around a corner. He had ran through the door. You guys lost sight of him. You were dealing with Pazuzu and the other things, and that was kind of the idea there. But I didn't want to call out that mechanic. I probably should have just said, I'm using a villain point to do this, and called out the mechanic, and that way Because if I had let you make rolls and then you had spent hero points on the rolls and then you still were unsuccessful, you would have been unhappy with that too. So I should have explained better that I was using a meta currency. So that's on me as the GM. Of course, the other part of that is it was very late. We had run over time and we just wanted to get the game over. So that was part of it. But I mean, it wasn't me just cheating as the GM. It was actually using a mechanic out of the game. I just didn't explain that mechanic to you guys but that's on me for not explaining that. But it wasn't just me cheating. But part of it was just to get the game over because we were already over time, and you need a villain for when we get back together anyway. So, that way that thread's dangling. That's always a good thing to have, some loose threads. But, yep. So I hope I didn't ruin it for you too bad. I'm sorry it wasn't as good as it should have been. And, I'll go flog myself now. Take care.
Jason, you don't need to flog yourself unless that's part of your religious practice. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if explaining the mechanic would have been worth it. He just got away. I think sometimes as a GM you have to let the players roll and then say no matter how well we rolled. I guess unfortunately if we would have rolled boxcars, what do you do, right? Then you would have had to say, well, I use the meta currency, or I use boxcars and tie it goes to the escaper. Anyway, so yeah, it's a tough situation there where you use some sort of meta currency. If you tell us about it, you break verisimilitude. If you don't tell us about it and just do it, we were like, well, why can't we just try to roll? So who knows? It's like can't win for losing. It's just one of those situations. But I enjoyed this game. I think there's some cool moments and some great things in that world. I would say, I'd like to play again, really, and I will promise not to stab my hand next time, in real life or in the game. But you got some more to say, don't you?
Hey, Carl, Jason here. Just want to say sorry about those last couple calls. Those were a little bit woe is me as far as GMing Barbarians Lemuria. I should have called out the meta mechanic thing at the end when I had the villain escape. I should have just said that, and that would have kept you guys from being frustrated trying to look for him. So in the future, if I do something like that, hey, look, there's a meta mechanic that lets me do this. I'm going to do it. We're already running over, yada, yada, yada. If I had done that, I think that would have eased feelings a little bit. I don't regret you having you stab yourself in the hand at all because I warned you ahead of time, and I even gave you a save. So everybody else caught on to that it was that something bad could have happened. So I don't feel bad about that one, but I definitely screwed the pooch with not calling out the meta mechanic at the end. Even though I was playing by the rules, I should have told everybody. So learning point for me, and sorry about the woe is me thing. Merry Christmas.
And in the spirit of Christmas, Joe Richter has the final words on the call-in, I guess, for this episode.
Merry Christmas, dude, to you and Amy. Hope you're having an awesome day. I hope 2022 is a super fun year for the both of you. And yeah, we will talk soon, my friend. Get ready for this episode. Get ready for my Christmas episode. It's a very special episode that you might enjoy. Peace out.
And what would a Christmas, for me at least, be without King Diamond and No Presents for Christmas? That's the opening riff and, I guess, montage of some traditional Christmas songs with the good old King Diamond cackle there. So, yeah, let's do these recaps. All right, the first game I played this week, Sunday morning-ish, so Sunday afternoon actually, and it is a game of Kult Divinity Lost run by Kevin Madison, Dungeon Muser, of the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel and Media Empire podcast, etc. He runs a lot of games, runs a lot of cool games, and what I liked, just my initial impression about the Cult, um, it's a powered by the Apocalypse game as kind of a base engine, although it uses 2d10 instead of d6, and I really like the moves and how it flows. I think it is a really good rendition of powered by the Apocalypse engine. Um, it is supposed to be a horror game set in the modern time. We are set in Detroit. I What I love about this game, it's very evocative to me because I can imagine it being a screenplay for a television show somewhere on Netflix or whatever. George Strait, I don't know if you listen to my podcast, but yeah, write a screenplay about it because you're really good at that kind of stuff. And like my character is named Joey Novak, Joseph Novak. He is of Hungarian descent, and he would be played by Steve Buscemi, bulging eyes, lanky, wears jumpsuits all the time, and a big coat, etc. We also have another player is playing a character named Mike Anderson, and Mike would be run or played by Donald Finn, but without the beard. And then finally, like the other character, Sam Joseph, he would be played by John Noble, who played Denethor in The Lord of the Rings and Walter Bishop from Fringe. What I love about this game, aside from the fact that I can imagine what the characters look like in the show, is that, man, Kevin has done a great job of pulling in some really neat ideas into this mystery. So how we pick it up is I have a bond, Madame Yavesky, and that is a similar bond to what Samuel Joseph has. And I got a picture sent on my phone of a man holding a gun to her. So I had rushed to her place. It is locked and closed, which is odd. She's usually open all the time, or at least the light is on for these, when you need spiritual help, it's always 24/7. So my character goes to the back in the alley, sees Sam Joseph. Sam Joseph, he's had sort of a run-in before, in that Sam Joseph, Matty Uvesky talks about him all the time, and sometimes my character, uh, Joseph, gets bumped for the Sam guy. So I confront him, and that's where we stopped the last time. So and then the other character, Mike, is not really with us yet. He's had some interaction with Sam Joseph, but not really with my character, and he is trying to pursue his. Apparently, his girlfriend has been kidnapped, and she's missing, so he's trying to track her down. So those are the two main elements. Another cool thing about a Cult is that at the beginning of the game, we decide what's going to kind of an idea or something that we would like to see the other players do, and then they decide for us too, and we decide one on our own, like what we like to see our character do in the session, which I think really helps Kevin to plan for what we're going to do. So in this case, I wanted to investigate what happened to Madame Uvesky, and then I think I was told, I think someone wanted to know a little bit about my past, why I'm being chased all the time by these people. So I don't remember the other guys personally. The other guys, what we wanted them to do. I think I'd wanted Mike Anderson to find out what happened to his girlfriend or investigate what happened to his girlfriend. And Sam, I'd like to learn a little bit more about him, like what's weird stuff makes him tick. Anyway, we have this confrontation. It gets diffused. I think what's weird is he calls me by my name, Joseph, because he has a vision of his old partner who was named Joseph. And his last name is also Joseph, which is very bizarre and somewhat coincidental. And then I snap out of it, go, how do you know my name? Blah, blah, blah. So I tell him, well, Madame Uvesky's in trouble, etc. About this time, some dudes come out, and I recognize them as working as thugs who work for a guy named Mr. Pearl. So I hit on an idea that I feel like Sam maybe is competent. He looks got that kind of rangy look. He might be able to be good in a fight. Maybe I'm wrong in thinking this, but then I go and confront these thugs of Mr. Pearl, and kind of talk them up. Hey, I give you a good bet, whatever. Then they're like, we're supposed to bring you in to talk to the boss. And I'm like, I don't think so. So I take off, and what's great is it worked. My maneuver worked, and I got them to follow me while Sam slips in. and there's another thug in there, and he hides to avoid him initially while I'm running around. Meanwhile, and we stop there because like there's a break in the action, it's like a commercial break, and we go to Mike, and Mike he calls her work, he goes to her work, and they're not there. His girlfriend's not there, so he goes like, okay, well, let me go get some stuff at my house, and he sees that there's some people waiting outside, kind of thugs or hitmen or whatever, these assassins that have given them some problems, both Mike and Sam in the past. So he kind of sneaks in. Um, he does really well at sneaking. He finds out there's a guy kind of sitting in his favorite chair, with some sort of weapon, maybe a silenced weapon or a submachine gun. And yeah, so Mike is able to sneak up on this guy and get the jump on him in a way. And he tells him puts a gun to the back of his head, says, "Drop your weapon, stand up slowly." They have a confrontation, and he's like, I guess the man kind of calls his bluff and charges at Mike. And then we switch back to our scenes, which I think is a kind of a neat trick that Kevin used to kind of keep the action going. We kind of switched back and forth between scenes. So in our case, like I'm still running. I have to duck under this like garbage truck. Um, and I really want these guys to keep following me. I don't want them to double back. So I kind of taunt them and yell at them, and they're about to like gun me down or do some bodily harm to me, and all of a sudden there's this crack of a rifle, and both of them are like taken down. It's very bizarre. Um, and as we switch back to what's going on with Sam Joseph, he gets into a brawl with this other guy, and they're fighting. They're fighting. It's not going well, and suddenly there's also this crack, and the guy's head explodes as if he's got shot in the head with some sort of rifle shell. Meanwhile, with Mike Anderson, they get into this fight. It's such a cool scene and how the dice kind of worked out. The man charges them. They get into a scuffle. There's guns and pistols sliding around the ground. Eventually, Mike somehow gets the upper hand and like bull rushes him, tackles him, bashes him, trips him into his like coffee table. And as the guy's getting up, Mike takes an ashtray and smacks him in the back of the skull and kind of kills him, which was shocking, but somewhat necessary. Then Mike skips out because he hears like the guys outside who were waiting outside are kind of coming to get back in. So I think that was the end of Mike's kind of action and scene in this particular episode, and he kind of, is going to try to find us, I guess, or find at least Sam, see what's going on with Sam. These looks like they're other assassins of an organization called the Black Hand. They all have a sort of black hand on their wrist. Meanwhile, Sam is like losing it, and while he's fighting this guy, he sees visions of World War One. He has this one vision that I thought was so cool that Kevin did. He has a vision that he's in this cafe. He takes a bite of a sandwich. He hears some commotion outside, and he runs out, and he sees his rather wealthy nobles in this carriage. Takes his pistol out and shoots them, the man and his wife. And yeah, that was so cool. It was actually, we learned later, I kind of picked it up because I just seen a documentary on it. This was like the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, the Duchess Sophie, to start World War One. And Sam had possessed or was the guy who did it, the Princep guy. I think it's Gustav or Giuseppe Princep or something like that. I don't know the exact name of the assassin, but it was fascinating. We, after this happens, my character Joseph Novak, he starts running back. He grabs the guns from those dead guys and starts running back towards Madame Uvesky's. Meanwhile, after Sam kills this last thug, he walks in, and then there is Mr. Pearl with Madame Uvesky tied down, and he's like, "Well, this is interesting." And I imagined, and Kevin hit on it. I think we were thinking the same thing, that Mr. Pearl is played by Paul Giamatti. So yeah, there you go. We got the villains in this tale too. So pretty cool. Some weird things happen. Madame Uvesky's face changes to be some sort of specter or man. When up by the time Joey gets there, Sam does something else. Like Mr. Pearl is not a good dude, so Sam calls on somehow summons or through him the spirits of all the people that Mr. Pearl has wronged and killed manifest, and this sends Mr. Pearl packing, running out into the night. Um, then Madame Yuvesky gets possessed. She is a medium after all, and this face of this man says we need to get the package, and this package is important, and that's why the cause of all this trouble. And I think the girl, I think they named Mike Anderson's girlfriend, she will be harmed unless you get the package. And I can't see any of this, so all I see is Maddie Uvesky rolling on the floor, racked in pain because the spirit breaks her arm or something like that. So I'm like freaking out. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where we stopped. Is very bizarre. We have our next mission in a way run through Sam Joseph with Joey Novak, and then hopefully to find Mike Anderson and his girl and get this mysterious package. But Kult is really cool. I definitely enjoy it. These are my same co-conspirators, the players that we had that debacle in the Warhammer Fantasy Second Edition game where we lost to Chaos. But I love playing with these guys. We have a great time. So thanks, Kevin. If you listen, fun times with Kult. Enjoying it a lot. Just when you thought there weren't going to be any unboxings in this episode, I get 2 boxes in the mail before I start recording. So the first one is a USPS pre-sort book, Echo Light, it looks like, bubble mailer. It is book-sized, I would say a little shorter than 11, probably like 8.5 by 9-ish, 10-ish. And 2.37 pounds. So it is from Prime Books. What book will it be? Angela is out and ready. This doesn't look like it's easy to tear the bare hands. Nope. We tear it with a box cutter. Don't tear the book. Here's a book. And which book is it, may you ask? Gettysburg, The Second Day by Harry Fons. So this is, I think it's the last one I need for he has like a trilogy. It's like Second Day, Book 2, and then like another addendum. So pretty cool. Now I have them all in hardback. Now it's, I guess, time to read them. I gotta read them. But pretty cool. I guess the back here. The second day's fighting at Gettysburg, the assault of the Army of Northern Virginia against the Army of the Potomac on 2 July 1863 was probably the critical engagement of that decisive battle and therefore among the most significant actions of the Civil War. So pretty cool. Yeah. Very nice. He put in like a 10-year stint at Gettysburg, so he knows, I guess he worked there, former historian at the Gettysburg National Military Park, and Henry Fons did a lot of research, probably on the ground as well as looking at documentation, primary sources and the like, so very excited for this. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So the Henry Fons trilogy from Gettysburg is Gettysburg the First Day, Gettysburg the Second Day, and then Gettysburg, Culps, and Cemetery Hill, just for posterity there. And I did get a second product. This is from Studio 2 Publishing, Mongoose. Yes! Ooh, I'm excited because there are some things that were pre-order from Mongoose that hadn't received yet. What is this guy? Angel does the cuts along the edge and in this box. Good for them, no packing peanut. It is an envelope within the box. So this is a UPS envelope within the kind of standard 6 by 8 by 12 box. And what book is this? Oh, this is the core rule book updated for Traveler, the 2022 I did get this when Shea Webster announced his game, and just for my own collection of the updated Musings travel rules. Although it turns out we're doing GURPS Traveler, so that'll won't be in this particular episode, but I will definitely talk about a recap of that wonderful, awesome episode of Traveler. Traveler is one of the first loves of mine in the game, but it's pretty cool. It's an updated version of this one. I believe things are just reformatted and streamlined. I recently got a copy of the Hyperborea PDF, and it definitely is easier to go through as well. So especially like they've really done a great job in character creation of putting like all the different careers on one. Like if you open the book, they're on like facing pages, so you have the whole everything that you need to know about doing a career, whether it's rogue or scholar or scout. They have them numbered, so there's probably a way that you could do this randomly, maybe, which would be kind of fun. And they also have a really neat creating a traveler flowchart. Start here, roll your characteristics, background, pre-career, start a new term, survival, mustering out, skill packages, events, advancement, continue, adventure at the end. So it's pretty neat how that goes. So very much better on the front end to creating a traveler. It's definitely worth doing. Pretty fun to do. Maybe I can convince my co-conspirator on character creation, Jason Connerly, to do this one of these days. But we'll see. So organizationally, this book, it does give an intro into charted space. Then the traveler creation, skills and tasks, combat, encounters and danger, equipment, vehicles, starcraft operations, space combat, spacecraft construction, then common spacecraft psionics, trade, and then world and universe creation. So it definitely is all Traveler has always been, even though there is a charted space world or a particular world that you could rule in. You could do this for any far future sci-fi space opera type game in theory, just using these things, create your own worlds, etc. And that was the thing at the beginning too. They only detailed like one sector in charted space, and you could do the rest. They've always had that wonderful stat line for a character or NPC, and of course they always have had a really cool world stat line as well. Trade looks pretty neat. Space trucking is a big conceit or a part of Traveler. The UWP is what I was thinking of, the Universal World Profile. It's a very cool thing. It's got, that planet using a single line of hexadecimal code that you can do, and it has like there's a starport size, atmosphere, hydrographic percentage, population, government law, and tech level at a glance. And next, if there's any bases, followed by a trade code, and if it's a water world or not, and then whether it could be an amber zone or the like. So, and the first thing would be the name, then where it would be located before the UWP, the hex location on the sector map. So, yeah, very much the same Traveler, but streamlined and updated core rule book. The other game I ran on Tuesday, we got back together with our Deadlands group, the Sunday night gaming group. Some friends of mine, we get together for dinner, and we either go. There's always beer involved. We either go out to a local bar called Flying Saucer, or we stay home and share beers and play games. And the game we've been playing is Deadlands. So this is a continuing campaign. We have 3 characters. The person you might know is my wife Amy, plays Sam, who is an agent and is someone who dresses as a man in public but is a woman, and uses her dress as a woman sometimes during the agency jobs, or the adventure, and sometimes not. So it just depends on the mission, I guess. And then we have 2 other players, my friends that we've known for a long time, and they play a ranger, a territorial ranger named Jake, and then a hex. So it's like a, oh man, I don't remember the exact name, but it's the It's the huckster. I think it's called I want to say Hexslinger. That might be it. It's a huckster that can shoot rifles and put runes on their rifle to make them shoot magic or do magic from the rifle. I think it's a Hexslinger, and her name is Hex. So pretty cool. I decided I'm going to start running this adventure called Horror on at Heaston Hill or Headstone Hill, and it is a published module, so there are spoilers ahead. They've been kind of going through Wyoming territory on their way to Utah, or Deseret in this world, because they want to confront this kind of corporation, because they found some weird goings on with this particular corporation. I don't remember the name of the corporation, and I should know these things off the top of my head. I found it. It is the Hellstrom Corporation. So they're the ones that these characters are pursuing. They're going to head to Deseret to confront them. But in the meantime, they've come across they're kind of convalescing in this last town, this last chance mining town, where they just saved them from this infestation of devil bats. They stopped the portal. They did a good deed, and I did start off the session with letting them like do some downtime, which earned them a Benny. And of course, my wife always calls in to this show or Jason Connerly shows to ask for bennies. So when she calls in, I think I've told my players, hey, if you call into the show and we're playing Deadlands or a game with meta currency, you'll get the Benny. Yeah, it's kind of fun and gets me call-ins, right? So anyway, I decided to run this particular adventure. They get a telegram and a letter from this muckraker named something O'Malley, who they run into in the past. I had forgotten, but one of the players remembered that they'd run into O'Malley in the past. I guess he was there when they did their kind of shootout in Sundown, something like that. So anyway, so they get this notice, telegram letter, and a picture and some newspaper articles that they got to find an agent who's gone missing at this place called Heaston Hill, which is kind of on their way actually to Deseret. They come down from the northeast. They're following the rail out of Fort Laramie and through the mountain passes. So we kind of did that, an introduction, a lot of info dump. They got some rumors about the area. So when they get to the place, they kind of come in their big old stagecoach, their armored stagecoach. It's still got horses. It's not Ghost Rock steam powered yet. So they get there. They get some rumors at the place where they can stable their horses and put their stagecoach, like billet their stagecoach, and then they kind of go and get rooms. At the end, the place is kind of weird. They notice some strange. So there's like electricity in this town, which is fascinating. The main street is electricity. They see in the hotel, while the rooms have just the oil lamps and stuff. There is like wires running through the room, so that's very curious to Jake, the territorial ranger. That's a mystery they got to figure out. The hotel people are kind of standoffish. There's definitely like this idea in town that there is I guess the Heaston person who's in charge of the town is one of those I'm in charge and no one else is, and I'm going to own this town and own you. They got that vibe from the stable where they billeted their horses and the carriage, and they get that the hotel people are pro this Heaston guy. They did find that there's a restaurant in town, so they go down there and they meet it's like Cajun food. So the downtime was kind of interesting. Jake is looking for the perfect steak. My wife Amy's character gave how Sam met Hex, and as a backstory, part of their backstory, and Hex, we learned, plays Jax in her spare time to kind of work on her agility, and maybe she's always played Jax as a kid. So pretty cool. Anyway, so they go to this restaurant, and that's where we have the events, the exciting events of the place. They meet the proprietress. Her name is Millie. She is. They ask about the guy that they're looking for, and she gets kind of flustered. So they know that there's history between them, but they don't kind of deal with that right away. In fact, they deal with this weird dude sitting in the corner that's kind of eyeing them, especially eyeing Sam and Hex. Sam goes over to talk to him. He says, "Drink. Let's go out by the woods. I have this like water full of ghost rock, and it's going to make you feel great. Just come out there with me and my friends. It's very suspicious." they play it up. They eat their dinner. They go back there. They go, well, if you drink this whiskey, then we'll go out there and drink your water. So the guy kind of gulps down the whiskey, almost throws up, which is very odd. And they follow him. It's an ambush, of course, but the heroes take care of it. Between Hex and Jake and Sam, they blow these people up and take them down. But the odd thing is that they don't bleed. They're full of this greenish sap, and they kind of dissolve into puddles of goo. At that point, because all this gunfire is going on, Millie doesn't want any attention drawn to her restaurant, even though it's kind of at the edge of town. So she calls the characters in and tells them that she knew about the guy there, Lenny Buckles, the guy they're looking for, knew he was an agent, and then she gave him the location of his house, so they're going to go investigate that next. But yeah, pretty cool to get back into Deadlands. I really like the game. Players are fantastic. Um, Surprisingly, they used a lot of their bennies in that fight with the plant men, I guess, for lack of a better term. I guess plant men is a theme in my game, just like frogs are a theme in Kevin Madison's games. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens here in Headstone, Houston Hill, the next time we play. Well, I think that's going to be it for the show. It's gone longer than I expect, as usual. Hey, and that's only 2 of the 5 or 6 games that I did this week. So, hey, everyone, Merry Christmas. I'm going to get this out here on Christmas or Boxing Day. It just depends. We have people over now. And yeah, thank you so much for the calls, Joe Richter and Jason Connerly. And thank you so much, TJ Drennan, for the wonderful music. So, Merry Christmas again, and have a happy holiday and a very happy and safe New Year. Take care.